Okay, can we verify that we're getting good voiceover commentary out on the live stream? Hey, can we verify we're getting good voiceover commentary out on the live stream? Alright, hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back for another episode of the Replication Anecdotes on the Rounding Off Infinity channel on Twitch, and if you're watching the archive version of this on YouTube. My name is Agasically Stamus from GearWorks.com, the E2KG Network podcasting channel on YouTube, and Rounding Off Infinity. Guess I'm gonna try and watch a little bit of this instead of normally just tuning into the chat. So I verify that everything is up and moving here. Let's go ahead and get on the road. So Forza Horizon has typically been my jam every year since I finally got into Forza Horizon 2. And we just made the cut from winter to summer for me. That's 1 plus 3. And we're going to be spending a lot of time talking about the tech that's being used to render the live stream this afternoon. Not absolutely certain how my audio mix balance is, I didn't fully pre-flight it before getting started here. Got several barn finds in the wind. I spent like an hour last game capture trying to hunt those things down, and at the end of the day that did not work out. So I dropped off and rolled. Of course, it would be good for me to be going in the right direction. Now, I will not be driving in the in-cockpit view like I am now. I just do that. As I get better with the game, eventually I'll go to the in-cockpit view, but right now it is still pretty early goings for me. So I will cut to the swing camera view. Oh! Always forget that it's driving is written in that, I guess we're going to be playing a little Recum racing this morning. At any rate, when I spend a lot of time, and I haven't been on Twitch in a long time, as you can probably see, and the reason for that is I do not call any one live stream service home. That's kind of my shtick, and what I do. Man, I'm gonna have to take a break in a little bit and listen to what this audio mix sounds like. Because some of this music actually sounds pretty loud. And I don't know if I turned up the volume on the Android phone that I have plugged into my video game capture card that I'm using to stream this music. I need to make sure that my voiceover commentary is not just completely blown out. Should not be that hard to do on Twitch. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and pause and take a quick listen to that right now. Okay, so that's cool. Despite how loud the music sounds in my headset, it is actually leveled out appropriately in the audio mix, so it sounds like it's not too bad for you guys, and you can hear my voice over the music and the game beneath that. So as I said, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about the tech that's being used to render the live stream this afternoon, because that's my shtick. And like I said, I haven't been on Twitch in a very long time, and the reason for that is I don't call any one live stream service home. What I do... Are any of these cars ready to go? I think this one might be. What I do is I spend a lot of time obtaining and testing a lot of the studio gear that is used by live streamers, and I try and test out the different pieces of equipment and get that word out, so other live streamers don't have to go around and try and test every piece of gear themselves. They can just hopefully hear me at some point and make selections based off that. So let's go ahead and start running down the hardware, software, and services that's being used. And I'm an idiot because I forgot. These races always start with no warning. So this afternoon I am playing on the Xbox One Scorpio, or Xbox One X, depending on which you choose to call it. I bought the digital version, so I also have this game for the PC, but I haven't started playing over there yet. Now, because I'm going through a capture card today that does not do 4K pass-through, I am playing at 1080p on my 4K television, which is always a bit of a bummer, but Forza Horizon still manages to look good, regardless. I'm also playing with one of my Microsoft Design Labs controllers, although you can't really see the color scheme on it. The fuchsia and royal blue color scheme, because I have this white silicone grip that I'm wearing over it. I don't know if this thing is tuned. Am I in ninth? That's what happens when you take your eyes off to look at the chat. Yeah, we're going to be running these back. I'm probably going to switch to my General Lee Dodge Challenger as well. I don't quite think I have this thing wired in the way it should be. Probably going to be running these back. I may have to abandon the event in order to switch cars. So now for a capture device this afternoon, I am using the AverMedia Live Gamer Extreme GC550. That model has since been superseded by the Live Gamer Extreme 2 GC551, but I continue to use the GC550. It still has it's still a great car, number one, but it actually has some capabilities that the GC551 does not. Most notably, for some reason, probably because they felt people didn't use it a lot, the GC551 gives up the front panel 3.5mm stereo jacks that the GC550 does. So the GC550 on the front panel has two 3.5mm stereo jacks, one for auxiliary input and one for microphone. It's absolutely awesome when you are using a 3.5mm jacked condenser mic, and you can just manage your audio mix balance and microphone settings right from the hardware itself. Man. Now I'm not using the microphone input this morning. I am using the aux input, however. What I'm doing is I've taken one of my old Android phones, the Sony Xperia XA1 Ultra. I'm going to bounce out of this. I'm going to have to come back in with the General Lee. See if I can do a little bit better. Now, the only thing I don't like with Forza Horizon 4, I have really tried to squelch all of the music in this game, but in these menus in between races, it still plays music, which just really aggravates me. Huh, so I only have to get to 240. That's weird. That seems like the shortest span between of influence that has to be earned to go to any of the next seasons.
Your schedule, and judging by your previous performance, I'm looking forward to seeing what you make of these.
Alright, let's see, where am I? And where was that event? The tough thing is going to be, it's now not listed as new. Well, I think I need to learn to let things like that go. Just move on to the next event. Nope, not particularly crazy about the car that I'm in. Now what I could do, I can... What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a run, it's Edinburgh Castle, which I do not own. Just go ahead and strike for this event. Dirt Racing Series. We'll go ahead and cut to the interior view. So what I'm doing is I have my Sony Xperia XA1 Ultra tuned into a YouTube playlist of Creative Commons music. And I am streaming that. And then I have a straight 3.5mm male to 3.5mm male pass-through audio cable. Not paying attention.
Recalculating route.
Going from the XA1 Ultra directly into the Live Gamer Extreme GC550. And then in OBS, in the video configuration settings for the game capture card, when you open it up for the GC550, it will show you a drop-down menu where you can select to have both the HDMI and the aux input, or both the HDMI and the mic input. So I selected that for HDMI and aux, and then set the audio mix balance. There's an audio mix balance slider in there. So I set it about, I set it for about, I set it 2/3 in the direction of the game.
Turn right. In 400 yards.
And I may be wrong. This, oh, fast travel board. Now, we may lose this music partway through the live stream because the XA1 Ultra only had about 30% battery power left.
100 yards.
I didn't feel like plugging it up and charging it. Now, for a webcam this afternoon, I'm using the Razer Cryo high-definition web camera. Pretty neat piece of kit. With a cool thing about the Cryo, it has an integrated ring light mounted on the front surface of the webcam for additional light. Now I have 2 studio lamps set up today for lighting, but the Cryo having its own integral ring light does help as well. As I always tell live streamers, there are 2 things that are more important
At your destination.
than all of your other gear and other stuff that we tend to focus on, and that is cables and lighting. Yeah, so we're not going to do that. My allergies are killing me this afternoon, as is usually the case. Now for voiceover commentary today, I'm using another piece of Razer gear. I'm using the Razer Sirene Elite high-performance condenser microphone. I have not used this piece of kit a lot. Really need to spend some more time this month kind of putting it through its paces. I'm pretty satisfied with it in every instance that I've used it. One of the things I like is that it has a hardware mute button on the back panel, so that's helpful, and it has its own individual gain control. Now, it's very rare that I use my microphones for their headphone output. Maybe sometimes if I'm using them for podcasting, I do, but hardly ever for a live stream. But it does have its own headphone output and its individual volume control. If you plug your headphones into the back end of it, I'm using it today with a pop filter as well as a wire mesh windscreen. Take a hit of energy cola here before we get started. Well, I got my finger on the trigger right away. The in-cockpit view, which I didn't want to be. And the Challenger is fast. I actually use this vehicle quite a bit in the winter season, surprisingly. That's not going to be good. Sixth. It is fast, but it is not super easy to control. Again, easier than you would think. Like I said, I use it quite a bit in the winter season. It's actually one of the better winter vehicles to use, not because once you did figure out how to control it, I put that a lot of power down. And what I don't know, and I didn't check, and this is why I need to go to one of my houses, I don't know that this thing doesn't still have its snow tires on. I saw that with a lot of the vehicles, it seemed like the game puts the snow tires on automatically for you. Too fast on that corner. Now, one of the things I don't do with my challenge settings is I don't allow flashbacks. I just tend to race however I race. I mean, it gives you a nice score boost at the end. It does make things harder because when you wreck or don't take a corner as well as you would like, there's no do-overs. But I run running like that. Since the beginning of the franchise, really, for me. Now, I didn't play Forza Horizon 1 at launch. I actually only went back to Forza Horizon 1 by way of backwards compatibility. I started in Forza Horizon 2. I'm not getting that corner down. And again, because the Challenger is so fast, I'm just getting up way too much speed, way too quickly. And I'm not thinking about scrubbing some of that speed off early enough. No. Oh. I'm also not twin pedal driving and steering, which I need to do. That's kind of been the key to my most challenging races. And again, twin pedal steering for me is something that I do all the time when I'm on my PC with wheel and pedals, but it's not as instinctive for me to do that with a controller with my fingers. Now for the in-game audio, what I'm doing is I'm taking the output out of the back of my Samsung 4K TV. Ricardo Colette. Shibby. I wonder if that's is that a barn find? And he's telling me to pick up. I'll have to check that out later. Now. Alright, so we're gonna head for the cottage because I need to get into that AMC and make sure that that thing is set correctly. I drive this thing in the dark.
In 100 yards, turn right.
Now for in-game audio, what I'm doing is I'm coming out of the back of the Samsung 4K TV. It has an optical output. So I am coming out of that into a media converter that I have that converts that optical audio signal over to left and right RCA channel outputs. And then I have a cable that takes RCA and can... Wait... So yeah, it's a 3.5 millimeter. I mean, it has RCA output too, but I'm using the 3.5 millimeter output and using the RCA outputs at the end of that cable to send it into my Behringer Xenix 302 USB hardware mixer. And then I have the switches set for that to send that line in input over to the headphone output port where I have my Razer Tournament Edition Destiny 2 Man of War headphones plugged in. So I guess, by no way of intention, I have a lot of my Razer gear broken out for this setup. This will be the setup that I'll be using for my regularly scheduled live streams, which this month are happening on Facebook. Monday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern till 1 a.m. and Wednesday mornings from 4:30 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. Oh, don't tell me that's a cliff. Don't tell me that's a cliff. So as I mentioned, I haven't been on Twitch for a while, and as part of my shtick of being the streamer's roadie, that is because I have not set up home at any one streaming service. In addition to testing all of the hardware and studio equipment that I get my hands on that live streamers might find of use, I also spend time testing the services in rotation. And so generally, on a monthly basis, I rotate from one service to the other and spend about a month live streaming there, looking at the pros, cons of each of the individual services as they go through their changes throughout the year. So in August, let's see, in July, I streamed directly to YouTube, which is where my main archive channel is. And then
you have arrived at your destination.
In August, I streamed directly to Twitter. Or maybe August was on YouTube, September was on Twitter, and this month, the month of October, I am streaming to Facebook. I'm kind of pulling the thread on what things are neat about their new gaming video creator role that they have available on Facebook, which is the thing that I signed up for. So let's go to the garage and check out my cars. Now, what I was uncertain about, it's not the Chevelle. That thing was listed as an AMC vehicle. Yeah, AMC Hornet. Oh, this is the James Bond edition cars. Upgrades and tuning. Now, I have had a couple instances where the Forza Horizon servers were down, which is just not acceptable. So when it goes down, you can't get to like designs and stuff. I thought I had upgraded this car. So is this a D-class car? No recommended upgrades, so I'm already okay. Did not like the way that thing drove at all. Now, what I might need to do I might need to go into Forza Vista and do some additional tweaking. And one of the things I don't like about the design shop in this issue is you can't, or this version of Forza says you can't like preview. I haven't found a way to preview the skin by like rotating around the car at all. You have to put the skin on, you have to download it, put the skin on. Okay, so I do not have the snow compound on. Wait, what was that? What did I just say? Stock tire cover. That's what's installed, so I don't want that on. Vintage race tire compound. Yeah, so what you gotta do is you have to make sure it doesn't tip up into C class. It seems like tweaking any tire compound does so let's not do that. Let's do those. And what I've found is if you get in here and play around with it, you can find some things that are better that don't necessarily trigger your class. Oh. Okay, I guess those are 007 rims, so I won't do that. Yeah, I think I'm really not going to find... Make those a little... Stock. It's a little heavier. Lateral G's are the same. Alright, so let's drive, get this set up. One thing I really like about taking the audio into the mixer is now I can set the volume level. That's one of the really difficult things with this particular setup, is without the mixer I have no way of controlling the volume output coming off the back of the TV, and it comes off really loud. So much so that a lot of times it'll bleed over into a microphone depending on what microphone I'm using. So I have some things to do, I have some beauty spots to find. And other things where I really want to focus on getting some things done this afternoon, because the last round that I played, that's dirt. I didn't particularly get a lot of things done.
Turn around when it's
Oh, who's that? Yeah, it's kind of weird because I think as
Turn left.
as the servers have come up, you're starting to see. I feel like I'm starting to see more and more people show up in my game, kind of in that Destiny kind of way, where
Turn right.
you're running around and you just see the world populated with other players. Definitely not getting the hang of this car.
Turn right.
We definitely need to.
In 200 yards, turn left. Turn left.
So the cool thing is, with using the mixer, what I can do is I have the music up pretty loud into my headphones, but I have the audio mix balance set with the output to OBS that it's not, right, blowing out the voiceover commentary and completely subduing the game audio. So it's just nice to have a setup like this with a lot of levers and knobs that I can use to tweak all these settings to the desired state, depending on where that output is going. And there's just no settling this car down and making it as stable as I would like it to be. Just need to spend some more time driving it, and really that's what really bugs me there, is it feels like it has like no grip in the corners. Now, of course, when I say things like that, a lot of times I have to look in the right-hand corner and look at what speed I'm going and go, okay, I know this is a racing game. That still doesn't change the fact that, you know, doing 80 miles per hour in some 1970s car with, you know, non-race grade rubber on the tires, probably going to result in some hair-raising shenanigans, so. Also, probably not counter-steering this car as much as I should. Probably trying to do so right as I was coming up behind that guy was probably not going to work out that well, so I just put it in the grass. I did not notice those cars are driving around with bicycles on their hoods, on their roofs. Now, if I can get my wits about me as I'm going downhill here, I'm going to
400 yards, turn right.
pan around the cockpit a little bit. The interior. Tractor.
Turn right.
Yeah, I thought I was making that turn, but that was not the case. Now, supposedly Forza Horizon 4 has been one of the top-selling versions of the series. And of course, thanks to Xbox Game Pass, definitely it's experiencing a ton of concurrent users, so 2 million. It's the highest count I've seen so far. It's a little tongue-in-cheek. You know, I think some news outlets were trying to make a very big deal of that, but again, a lot of that is Xbox Game Pass, and a lot of people saying, you know, I may as well play it while they're sitting around waiting for Red Dead.
In 400 yards.
And the game is just sitting there in front of them for free. I've been playing a good chunk of Destiny 2 this weekend with my friends, and I know
Turn left.
one of the things that's been impacting me is every time I open that Battle.net client and see Call of Duty 4, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 sitting there staring me in the face, I'm very tempted to just reach out and grab it.
400 yards.
Not done so yet.
Turn right.
I'm going to be changing up some things on the Rounding Off Infinity channel as I prep to go into Season 4. For anybody who has been around the channel for the last 3 years, you'll know that I kick off my new season in
Arrived at your destination.
So my new season start typically the first week of December, so right after the Thanksgiving holiday usually. kind of when mentally I'm more in that mindset of doing a new season start and kind of wiping the slate clean and starting some new things. And that also has me start those new things with a lot of the holiday releases that are out. I don't know what I did now. I pushed the controller all the way over there. Hornet X hatchback. So I'm not sure how long I'm going to be able to stay on. It might be as much as 30 minutes, it might be a little less. Here we go. Oh no, I tweaked it one too far. I want to be in closer to the car. Come on. I think this car would handle a heck of a lot differently if I'd have been able to put some better rubber on back at the house. Unfortunately, it is right on the edge. Of keeping it as a B-class car. Now, this is one of the problems that are interesting dynamics of Forza has always been. Both Horizon and Motorsport is I have to keep. Oh, come on. I have to keep cars, competitive cars in every class. I tend to try. That's a nice overtake. If I can keep it. He came out with more speed. So typically what I do is I try and just keep cars in whatever class I buy them in. I just max them out in that class. Just because I've typically found that, like, a car purchased as Class D and souped up to Class C is just not going to be as competitive with a car that was natively in Class C already and was upgraded to max out in the C ratings. I couldn't get my head wrapped around what the car was doing, how to make that 90-degree turn. Man, I am doing pretty horribly. Now, there has to be something attractive about this car for them to put it in the James Bond pack. I have not seemed to strike a way to find it. Yeah. Speed and this wet surface got in my head. Almost in dead last. Problem with sprint races too is they're just not easy. This is horrible. And with a circuit race, you can figure that out. I mean, you end up back where you start, so it's not as much of a pain to... And I think earlier, at the outset of this game, what I was doing is I was running races a lot to like the 80th percentile. And then starting them over. Then I got tired of doing that because I was never seeing the last few miles, the last mile or whatever of a race. a sprint race. Fifth isn't a horrible position to wind up in. And again, historically, what I've always done in Forza games is I'd rather crank up the difficulty and get a nice difficulty multiplier. So my difficulty multiplier right now is at 55%. Now, even if that means that I come in, you know, between 5th and 8th, I'd typically rather do that than make it easier and come in, you know, on a podium finish. Although, at some point I will typically get tired of that and I will back off of the difficulty multiplier.
Very seriously. Welcome to round 5.
Let's see where we are here. Part of the problem is I keep playing these dirt races, right? Although that is what's open to me right now.
Yards. Turn right.
I'm really just not liking this car. And I think it's something about the driving physics model that I'm just not getting. I'm driving externally because I haven't spent any time looking at this design at all. Of course, all the equipment that I talked about is run over to my streaming PC.
Turn left.
And today, I am using what I refer to as Desktop 4 and Workstation 6,
Turn left.
also referred to as my secondary Uberboxen. So, the Uberboxen are the PCs that I have been building and fitting out to be capable of handling VR, PC gaming, and being streaming PCs, which has been a change that I've undertaken in the course of 2018. Historically, what I've been doing in the studio is building streaming PCs that have high-end CPUs, but just had you know, the Intel integrated GPU inside of them, because you know, with any of the builds, I set a budget to constrain myself and focus on building the best PC that I could, specifically for streaming. And so usually what I gave up and sacrificed was GPU performance, because I just didn't really need it. With the advent of Ryzen,
In 400 yards. Turn right.
which this PC is built around, that's Knuckle. Haven't really had to make that choice so much. You can build a Ryzen-based PC that is capable of doing both PC
Turn
gaming
around when it is safe to do so.
and live streaming, and stay within a pretty decent cost profile. So when I built this Uberboxen, which was actually the first one that I built, even though it's now the secondary Uberboxen, I didn't plan on having it fitted out as a gaming PC, but when Destiny 2 came out, it didn't support SLI. I was like, well, that pretty much resolves that there's no need and no point in running an SLI box anymore. So I took the
You have arrived at your destination.
second GTX 1070 that I had over in my primary gaming PC, which has since been rebuilt and is now the primary Uberboxen. So originally that primary gaming PC was fitted out with two GTX 1070s. I took one of those out, put it in this PC, which was originally designated as my new primary studio PC or streaming PC, but once I put the GTX 1070 in there, I started using it for VR and PC gaming, and it was still fitted out for streaming, so hence the new designation Uberboxen. So That's what I'm using as my streaming PC today. It is built around an AMD Ryzen 5 1600X CPU. And I just got the call, so this is going to have to be my last race for the afternoon. I'm going to race the Hornet one more time, as painful as it might be. And I think maybe what I need to do is go kit out this Chevelle. But the secondary Uber Boxen, or Desktop 4, is fitted out with, it's built all around an AMD Ryzen 5 1600X CPU, 24 gigabytes of DDR4, 2666 megahertz RAM. And as I mentioned, an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1070 Founders Edition GPU. I've been able to find a way by him. That corner was not as tight as I thought it was. Hopefully all this music is volume leveled, because again, when I hear how loud it is in my headphones, I'm like, am I sure that when I checked the audio mix, I wasn't checking against a track that was just quieter than the rest? So the reason the Uber Boxen has just 24 gigabytes of RAM, which is an odd configuration number, I'm sure some of you think, is because one of the things I'm also doing this year as a gamer, not so much as a streamer, maybe a little bit as a streamer, is I wanted to standardize a lot of my gaming peripherals and kind of pick one gaming company to use for the majority of my gaming gear. The company that I selected was Corsair. So this year I picked up 2 Corsair keyboards, and then the third thing that I picked up was no, don't. Is it gonna get me for? No, we're doing that over. Makes me angry. Alright, here we go. And I've since picked up 2 Corsair headsets as well. But the third thing that I picked up was for the Corsair Vengeance RGB RAM. So I wanted some additional lights within my case. These RAM sticks are really big. Excuse me. They need a lot of vertical clearance, and the heatsink and fan, heatsink shroud that I have sitting on top of the AMD Ryzen 5, because I never use the stock cooler that my CPUs come with. One of the RAM sticks on that motherboard, because that motherboard only has 2 RAM slots. One of them is too close to the shroud, and so you can't put that Corsair Vengeance RGB stick in there. So I had an extra stick left over. That's what actually invoked my desire to go ahead and upgrade the primary gaming PC. Because I was like, well, I don't want the stick of RAM just sitting around here not doing anything. At the time, the primary gaming PC had 32 gigabytes of RAM in it, but there was an issue with that AMD chipset. It was built on the previous AMD FX CPU of a Shara core, but it had historically run the RAM at lower than spec speed. And so it was one of the things that I had always intended on correcting whenever the next upgrade cycle came around, and it was going to be due for upgrade at the end of this year anyway, so I just pulled the trigger on it a few months early in order to not lose the value in that 16 gig stick that I had. So I should mention that it was two 16 gig sticks of Vengeance RGB that I had. And so both of those PCs are configured with one 16 gig stick of RAM and an 8 gig stick of RAM, which is, you know, instead of two 16 gig sticks as I had originally intended. And it turns out I wouldn't have been able to put two sticks of 16 gig in the other one, in the primary PC either. Man. Man, I'm just grabbing like a mountain full of throttle. Just trying to outside in him. That didn't work out, although I'm still fourth. This is just some nasty, dirty grunge racing here. A lot of trading paint going on. Probably still not counter steering as much as I should be. Fourth is not a horrible way to end if I can hold on to that and if I don't get tripped up by more complex sequence of turns than I've experienced. Now, that all being said, if I can catch this pack up here. Now this is causing me to push harder than I should. Let's get you into third. I was hoping I was going to be able to roll past all three of them there, but I got to be happy with that. No. What? Huh. Why did my rating drop down to 498? Because I thought when I was in the upgrade screen it said that my rating was going to say 499. A little aggravating. Yeah, I would definitely like to do some road racing instead. Alright, well, thanks so much for anybody who happened to swing by the live stream, and anybody who happens to swing by and view the archive version of this over on my Rounding Off Affinity channel on YouTube. Once again, my name has been Gaskin Stamus from GearWorks.com and the E2KG Network podcast channel on YouTube. Head over to GearWorks.com. I am finally back to trying to write almost every day. or at least every other day. So I'm posting articles there much more frequently. Most recently, I posted a breakdown and analysis of Sony's so-called solution to allowing you to change your PSN name, and I had some thoughts and concerns that I wanted to convey about, as I mentioned, their so-called solution. And also head over to the E2KG Network podcasting channel where you can catch our series of 4 podcasts that we do on with varying levels of frequency. Every week we do an episode of What's Your Issue, our comic book reviews podcast. And the entertainment crew also does It's Another Thing, where we are covering right now season 2 of The Gifted. And the It's Another Thing movies crew covers 2 movies per month that are new drops on Netflix. And then every week we record an episode of the Enough to Keep Going weekly gaming podcast, where we rotate each week doing a deep dive news analysis show, and then the other week we do a gaming experience playlist show with our gaming homework assignment. Next upcoming discussion will be about gaming reputation and faction systems within games, so that should be a pretty interesting talk. So that's going to do it for me. My name is Replication. Thanks so much for joining in, and I'm out of here. I'm not exactly sure when I will be back on Twitch. Eventually, Twitch will come up in the rotation, and I will come over here and park the Rounding Off Infinity Winnebago for a month of live streams. But until then, I'll be popping back periodically to check in on the service and see how it's doing and compare it against wherever I'm doing my primary live streams. Again, this month I'm over on Facebook under the name of Gascally Stamus. You're welcome to come by there during any one of those regularly scheduled live streams or one of the ad hoc streams. Thanks so much. That's going to do it for me. I'm out. Come on. Now, why won't it connect?